Madam Clerk, we're ready.
Time is 6:39, Council President. Roll
Okay,
call.
call this meeting. Okay, good.
No, I'm sorry, go right ahead. You do have to open the meeting. A little out of
I
practice.
call the regular council meeting of July 20th, 2021 to order. This meeting is being held with the benefit of public notice as required by the Open Public Meetings Act. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Ty?
Here.
Mr. Whalen?
Here.
Ms. Phillips? Here. Mr. Reparo?
Here.
Council President, for the record, Councilman Carabelli is absent this evening.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise and join us in the salute to the flag, and please remain standing for a moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for a moment of silence for the family that was tragically lost in Hamilton on July 9th as a result of the fire. Thank you. Please remain standing for the invocation.
Dear God, thank you for all the blessings that you have given us. Please guide all of our counselors, first responders, law enforcement officials, and community leaders that they will work through you in providing hope and love to our community. Tonight, we also ask for your special blessings for Captain Jason Ryan, Captain Joe Flynn, firefighter Jeff Barlow, and firefighter Ladislaw, who have just returned from their service in Florida. Grant them peace and healing and the knowledge that because of their service and sacrifice, we are blessed to have them in our community. We make all these intentions in your name. Amen.
Okay, we have a decent-sized agenda tonight. Madam Clerk, please proceed with the agenda.
Thank you, Council President. The first item on the agenda is the minutes for the approval of June 1 and June 15, 2021.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second that.
Madam Clerk?
Mr. Ty?
Yes.
Mr. Whalen?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips? Yes. Mr. Reparo?
Yes.
Passes 4-0. Moving on to communications, C1 is a receipt of documentation for an amendment to the application on file for alcoholic beverage license 1103-33047, Generation 6, known as the Homestead Inn of Hamilton Incorporated. This is for the extension of a license to the executor in the name of Peter G. Rosati, President.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion on communications C1.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Mr. Ty?
Yes.
Mr. Whalen?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips? Yes. Mr. Reparo?
Yes.
Communication C1 passes 4-0. Moving on to consent agenda, we have items CA1 through CA41 for your consideration.
Okay, on the consent agenda, we do have a lot of items. Just so everybody on council, please take a minute. The agenda that we just received through our iPads is not the same as what's on the paper, so we're going to go with the paper.
Okay.
The old agenda is just not updated, so. On the consent agenda, I believe there are 41 items. Some collective bargaining agreements agreed upon, appointments to 3 different boards, grants and grant applications, liquor licenses, bond release, 3 land leases, roof for the Wilson Center, we see, a couple extension of contracts, vaccines and the flu shots, and a couple tax sale items. Do any questions or comments on the consent agenda from council?
Council President, on CA 21, 22, 23, those are the land leases. Those are in the Rural Resource Conservation Zone, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, but those are leases to farmers to continue farming that land. They're extensions of existing.
That is correct.
Yes,
Yeah, right. Correct. Any other questions or comments from council? I know 39 is no cost. That's the Women's, Infants, and Children WIC program. Any questions before I open it up to the public? Okay, at this time, anyone from the public that wishes to speak on the consent agenda, please raise your hand. Once you're called upon, you can come up to the microphone, give your name and address for the record, and you can then speak about the consent agenda. Yes, ma'am. If anyone's not aware, there are paper agenda lists at the entrance of the doorway. If you need to grab one, please feel free to do so.
Yes, I'm putting pictures there for now. On the marijuana thing, that's just the growing, right?
We're not there yet. This is only on the consent agenda items. That's going to be under the second reading of the ordinance. That'll be towards the end of the meeting. Sorry, I like you. You're always ahead of the game. We like you.
Okay.
I thought you were going to say what do you want from the teacher. We like that about you teachers. Anyone else from the public that would like to speak on the consent? Yes, sir.
About notifying Mercer Street. Can you just explain the name, CA 40?
4 or 40?
40.
CA 40 is a resolution authorizing the award for the search for a new CFO. Yes. Now, we're trying to expand our search to get a good list of quality candidates. Well, we have one who's currently leaving. Any other questions or comments from council? I'm sorry, from the public? Okay. Seeing none, do we have a motion?
Council President, I'll make a motion to move on consent agenda items CA1 through CA41.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
On the motion, Mr. Ty?
Yes.
Mr. Whalen?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Reparo?
Yes.
Consent agenda items passed 4-0. Moving on to resolutions. Resolution 1 is Resolution 21-282, which is a resolution authorizing the execution of a development agreement between HRP Mercer Urban Renewal LLC and the Township of Hamilton.
Okay, questions or comments from council on Resolution 21-282? This is improving the roadway on Lamberton Road from the 2020, June of 2020 Planning Board. Any questions or comments?
Wait, which one? Wait, which resolution number again?
Yeah, you use a paper copy.
Yeah, you have to use the paper copy. The,
21-282.
yeah, the iPad is not going to update.
Resolution 1, Councilmember.
Yep, I got it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions or comments from council on resolution number 1? Okay, at this time, anyone from the public that would like to speak on resolution 1, please raise your hand. When you come up to the microphone, please give your name and address for the record. Seeing none, do we have a motion?
Yes, Council President, I make a motion to move on Resolution 1, 21-282.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
On the motion, Mr. Ty?
Yes.
Mr. Whalen?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips? Yes. Mr. Reparo?
Yes.
It passes 4-0. Resolution 2 is 21-283, a resolution authorizing a memorandum of understanding between the Township of Hamilton and Trenton Mercer Continuum of Care City of Trenton Department of Health and Human Services for participation in the 2021 Emergency Housing Voucher Program.
Okay, Resolution 2 is Emergency Housing Voucher Program. Establishes and prioritizes homeless families and individuals in the community. Any questions or comments from council? Seeing none, if you would like to comment from the public on Resolution 2, please raise your hand and come forward to the microphone. Seeing none, do we have a motion?
Council President, I'll make a motion to move on Resolution 221-283.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Mr. Ty?
Yes.
Mr. Whalen?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Reparo?
Yes.
Passes 4-0. Resolution 3 is 21-284, resolution authorizing a one-year plan for spending of American Rescue Plan funds.
Okay, Resolution 3, 21-284, is our ARP spending for the first year, total of $6.5 million. It's a one-year plan. At the end of the 1 year, we will then reevaluate and come up with the second year spending plan.
So, Council President, I was under the understanding this resolution was just accepting the funds.
Authorizing the participation.
Right, but we don't have the how we're distributing it yet, correct? This is just the acceptance of the funds as far as I know.
21-284, Eileen, that read differently, the way you read it than it does even on the paper copy.
You are correct, council member. So, let me restate the ordinance title. Thank you, Councilwoman Phillips. So it should be a resolution authorizing participation of the Township of Hamilton in the coronavirus state and local fiscal recovery funds established by the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021 to apply for and receive $17,161,883 to respond to acute pandemic response needs, fill revenue shortfalls, and support communities and populations hardest hit by the COVID-19 crisis.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate the good catch on that. Thank you. You have comments on that, Council?
Is that over a 2-year period, that lump sum?
It is, the first,
That is correct. Okay.
first part of the money was received.
Right. So approving this, we're just accepting the 17. That's it, okay.
Thank you for that. Any other questions or comments from council?
No, I mean, this is really going to go a long way to assisting our first responders. I commend the mayor and his team for making clear the need for the money here in Hamilton and getting us such a great aid package.
Okay. I'm sorry. Mario?
No, just going to, I look forward to, I know, so as we accept it, just so everyone here understands, that we will be then presented with plans that we will look at and vote on in the future, so, and how that money, and I believe it's going to be in 2 separate plans, if I remember correctly.
You are correct. Okay, at this time, if anybody from the public would like to speak on resolution number 3, please raise your hand and come on up to the microphone. Okay, seeing none, do we have a motion?
Yes, Council President, I move Resolution 321-284.
I'll second that.
Madam Clerk?
Mr. Ty?
Yes.
Mr. Whalen?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Reparo?
Yes.
Passes 4-0. Resolution 4 is 21-285, a resolution providing for the insertion of a special item of revenue in the calendar year 2021 municipal budget. This is coronavirus state and local recovery funds grant in the amount of $835,941.50.
Okay, Mark, correct me if I'm wrong, this is the application for the approval by local government services for the line item, correct?
Chapter 159, which we have to add to the budget.
Yes, thank you. Any questions or comments from council? Seeing none, if there's any questions or comments from the public, if you would like to speak on Resolution 4, please raise your hand and come on up to the microphone. Seeing none, do we have a motion on Resolution 4?
Council President, I'll make a motion to move Resolution 421-285.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Mr. Ty?
Yes.
Mr. Whalen?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips? Yes. Mr. Vaquero?
Yes.
Passes 4-0. Moving on to ordinances under second reading and public hearing. Ordinance 1 is 21-035. An ordinance amending and supplementing the Code of the Township of Hamilton, New Jersey, Part 2, General Legislation, Chapter 449, Taxation, in order to establish Article 2, Cannabis Taxation.
Okay, any questions or comments? This is the public hearing. Any questions or comments from council, or do you want to defer until after public comment?
Well, I think there's going to be a lot. I think that's a good idea, Council President. I know there's a lot of public interest in this particular ordinance. We do want to hear from the public. I will tell you, I am supportive of this plan. We are legalizing most of the avenues, and we're just waiting on the one avenue. And the reason for that is because the state hasn't established the law, the regulations, for us to make a judgment on how to regulate that ourselves. So it's not a no, it's a not right now. But that said, Council President, if you want to open it up to the public.
Sure.
Excuse me, Council President, is this just on the first portion of it, or the taxation?
First one is just taxation.
This has nothing to do
I was
with
just about to go into that. So the first ordinance, 21-035,
tax.
is regarding taxation. It defines what the tax is for NJSA, the transfer tax, cultivator, retailer, manufacturer, the wholesaler tax, and user tax. It also states that the cannabis tax needs to be remitted to the town monthly, and it also has different guidelines for the permit. We will open it up to public comment, and with the public's questions, we will provide answers. So if anyone would like to speak on ordinance number 1, 21-035, please raise your hand and come on up to the microphone. Yes, ma'am.
Now, this is just a taxation, is there, I don't think it's decided that it's just selling it, you mentioned this time, or are we growing it, not selling it, or we haven't decided if we're growing it and selling it?
That's next. We didn't get there yet. We're on the first one.
And
We're on the taxation. We're getting that. It's the next one.
and the taxation can be on...
What's the question?
Is it just on growing it, or are we selling it and growing it?
On a cannabis cultivator, or on cannabis retailer or cannabis manufacturer. So we don't have retailers yet, but I put this in the taxation already. So because the new statute allows for these types of taxes. So on a cannabis, about 2% of the cannabis manufacturer, 2% on the cannabis cultivator. And a transfer tax of 1% on receipts for the cannabis wholesalers. And then a user tax for any concurrent license holder. So if one entity has more than one type of license, cannabis license, there is a user tax for when they transfer amongst themselves. They go from cultivating, for example, to distributor. And and then I go in how we collect it, if there's liquid receipts. Correct?
Potentially.
Thank you. Feel free to come back up. Any other questions on ordinance 1 regarding the taxation of cannabis? Okay. Seeing none, do we have any comments or questions from council? Okay, perfect.
I'm going to keep my powder dry.
I like that about you. Okay, seeing none, do we have a motion on ordinance, second reading, ordinance 21035?
Council President, I move ordinance 21, do I need to close the public comment?
Yes.
Yeah, so seeing no further public comment, I move that we close the public comment portion and move ordinance 21-035 on second reading.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Mr. Ty?
Yes.
Mr. Whalen?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Reparo?
Yes.
Passes 4-0. Ordinance 2 is 21-036, an ordinance amending and supplementing the Code of the Township of Hamilton, New Jersey, Part 3. Land Use Legislation, Chapter 550, Land Development, Article 3, District Regulations, and Article 4, General Regulations and Design Standards. This is second reading and public hearing.
Okay, so we're going to use the same format on this one as well. We will allow the public to comment first before council comments. This ordinance is,
I just have one question for the township attorney before we go.
Yes, sir.
I didn't mean to interrupt you, though. Can you define cannabis establishments in subsection I?
Yes,
Section
so
2.
this is the one typographical error that I made, and I threw myself on the sword because I'm a terrible typer when I'm reading off other statutes. So cannabis establishment basically is a catch-all provision according to CREMA, which is the state statute. And the cannabis establishment, sorry, I'm looking, it includes,
this was a recreational and medical.
right, recreational, I'm sorry, I'm just going back into it, looking at, it includes all of the licenses right now that we are allowing, which is 5 out of the 6 licenses. So it includes cannabis manufacturer, cannabis cultivator, cannabis retailer, cannabis distributor, what I call the pot Uber. I don't really know what their real name is, but
Delivery.
the delivery service. So it's, in other words, instead of having to repeat all of those words over and over again throughout the statute and throughout our ordinances, we use cannabis establishment as a catch-all, and it's in the definition.
So ordinance 2 also gives the proper land uses, where it's allowed, where it's not, what the, we'll say, I don't want to say hoops that you have to jump through, but what the certain guidelines you have to file, the municipal permit, the license, the permit, et cetera. It also gives where the establishment can be placed, how far from the school, rec center, housing unit. States that there has to be physical barriers to block the sight line from these facilities. And also, there's information on signage. If anyone from the public would like to comment on this ordinance, this is ordinance number 2, 21036. Please raise your hand. When you come to the microphone, please state your name and address for the record. And you have 4 minutes to speak. Yes, ma'am, come on up.
So who's going to own the oversight of all of this? Is it going to be part of the economic development division of the township? That's question 1. 2, how will you enforce who's responsible for that? How will people who have an interest in doing an establishment or cultivating, do they go to the planning board? Do they go through like the planning board, the zoning board, to understand the process?
Right.
And oversight, right? Because some states that have great intention, but then a lack of oversight allows creating, that creates bad things for all the things you're trying to do, right? To make it like that, right? So,
So it's a multi-pronged process. to have any kind of license, it's both licensed by the CRC, the Cannabis Regulatory Commission of the state, and someone has to obtain that license. In order to actually open up in Hamilton, they have to receive a Hamilton permit, which is going to be governed by the council and the clerk, run back through the clerk and the council. So that's one part of it. Then there is actually, how do they open up the business? Sure.
So does that mean someone who is interested in an establishment, et cetera, do they come to a council meeting, do they present?
No, it'd be very similar to the alcohol ABC ordinance. The state tried to, as much as possible, mimic the ABC process, because it's a similar kind of drug, right? Alcohol and marijuana is a similar kind of drug. So it's the same kind of permitting process. But there's two problems, though. It's the state and the township. And then to actually open up for example, their warehouse to cultivate, they need to then they need to be in a zone that we allow, and they need to go to the land use board to get those permits, or those approvals. And so that's that part. Then there is, health is going to be involved. Police are going to be involved with the police powers that we have. So it's just like alcohol, in that to have a liquor store, or to have liquor at your restaurant, you have to go to the state, and you have to also come to the town. The police come by to make sure you're not serving underage kids. The health department comes by to make sure, like, the well of the back is not gross. I used to bartend, and so I can speak the truth of that, how gross the back of the bar gets. So your health department will come.
If I can interrupt, they'd also be in the planning stage, they have to go to planning board.
Exactly.
Between getting the approvals for the signage, is the building even allowed to go in that area? So there is going to be oversight. Obviously, Director Dumont's department is going to have to be involved with the community compliance. So there is going to be multiple layers of oversight. This is not just going to be the Wild West.
So you say that we can say that right? So when we look out, Township,
I'm sorry, I have hearing aids, so I have a hard time hearing this.
So warehouse, you said a magic word that's pretty sensitive to a lot of people in my township. There's a lot of warehouses going on, right? They want to put a 420,000 square foot one worth dwelling. So, they have to get land use authorization before they can do it.
Right, so we've only allowed them in, so you step back for a second, you think, and I was saying this yesterday to someone else, you think of cannabis as a crop, and so, like, logically, you think it's an agricultural, so it might work well out in the rural resource center. But it turns out, because of the high regulations, there has to be safety, it has to be in a warehouse and so forth, and with security and fencing and all that, right? It's not just like, you got your sunflowers, then you got your cannabis plants. It's not going to work. And so as a result, we have zoned them specifically in places where we have allowed warehouses in the past, for example. So it's industrial, it is research and development, it is manufacturing, okay? And ideally, one of the benefits of this is that if we have brownfields, which really aren't great for other types of land uses, nothing is going into the ground, right? So of the crop, it's all above ground in hydroponic or wherever else they grow the cannabis plant.
And if I can just, I can interrupt. It's actually stricter from a land use standpoint than even ABC or alcohol rules are, because there's an annual zoning permit renewal process that these companies are going to have to go through.
Will it be a costly permit that they have to go through, or?
So there's the permitting and then there's the zoning. They're two different things.
Permitting and then renewal of permit, too.
Well, that's the other ordinance.
No, well, we're apparently, I've been advised for over 4 minutes. If you want to come back, you all.
No, it's okay. I don't want to cut you off, but I'm sure there's other people that might have the same questions. Anybody else that would like to speak on ordinance 221036, please raise your hand and come to the microphone. Seeing none, Ms. Duffy, come on back up. Hey, we got to be good neighbors, right?
So, sorry for all the questions. I think we focus on the oversight of all of it.
Sure.
Right? So,
I don't see, just to pick up, I don't see any additional zoning fees beyond the normal. There are additional permitting fees, but that's the other ordinance.
yeah. So how will, planning zoning be educated? This is all new, right? So how will those boards, because that's what those people, they, are all volunteers, everybody's busy, we're the same hours. How will they be informed to make proper informed decisions in the approval process?
The same way I had to learn all about this in legislating. They're going to have to read and work and learn, and we will provide as much information as we can, but at a certain point, they're public servants, just like we all are up here, and we have certain obligations and responsibilities.
I was actually going to say, just like we have just like we have Alyssa to advise us as a board, the planning board and the zoning board also have attorneys to advise staff. So they're going to have expertise at their disposal. They're going to have access to the administration as well.
Did that answer all your questions, or was it? It's okay. Yeah, close a couple of them.
Listen,
Elizabeth,
I get it right or
please.
wrong. But will state CRC still have oversight too?
Yes.
So, I mean, there's two layers.
Right. So, and that's what we're waiting for.
Right.
On August 21st, knock on wood, which I'm none of, right here, CRC, the Cannabis Regulatory Commission, the Cannabis Regulatory Commission, which is the state body that's been endowed in the statute, is supposed to come out with regulations. Let's hope they do, because we are going to, it's not just Township Hampton. All of us, every township in the state is awaiting these regulations. We can only look to Colorado and other states only so much, because they're different states and different scenarios on the ground. So the regulations will come through, we will read them and digest them. Lawyers, I'm a member of the Institute, I'm a trustee of the Institute of Local Government Attorneys in New Jersey, and we have regular meetings, and I'm on the committee that we've been analyzing all of this together. And so it's not, you all in Hamilton not only get my legal services, you also have the benefit of a lot of other really, really smart lawyers in the state on municipal law. So, we're doing what we can to make sure it is safe and effective and correct, not only in our township, but across the state.
Thank you, Ruth. Any other questions from the public on ordinance 221036?
Let me ask one more question.
Yes, Tim.
Third bite at the apple.
So I have a lot of friends in Colorado where they legalize. One of the things that they do significantly lot for the general public is education to the young kids.
Yes.
Okay. I watched my friend, his 24-year-old kid, have an entire lung removed on the right, half his lung on the left, and lots of other things because of what went down with when they legalized it and they started to create a very big lack of education. So I'd like to see our Department of Health get intimately involved with it to educate the community, for parents, for kids, for schools, right, when the prosecutor's office came out one time, it was like, almost like a scared straight thing for the kids on, early,
Sure.
I'd like to see that for the parents, because, there's so much to know.
And the benefit,
For everybody, right, it's not a common sense, right, but it's important that people are educated, because it's really bad stuff.
right, well, and the benefit is now as it's becoming legalized across the country, there is more opportunity for medical studies. So, and remember, it is not allowed for children. So just like, I mean, yes, I have teenagers at home, and yes, but, we
We're
as
in
parents,
agreement with you. We don't want,
We're going to pass it on to the administration. I'm sure Mr. Maranko is going to pass it on, and we'll get the health department involved, because we all have that same concern.
Yeah, it's going to schools.
Yep.
Because, they're smart.
their minds are still developing. We don't want them to damage themselves. If there's health classes, we want the information to be available.
Yep.
absolutely.
Thank you, Ms. Duffy. Okay. Seeing no other comment, do we have a motion from council?
Yes, Council President, I move to close the public portion and move on to ordinance number 221-036.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Mr. Ty?
Yes.
Mr. Whalen?
Yes.
Mrs. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Reparo?
Yes.
Passes 4-0. Ordinance 3 is ordinance 21-037, an ordinance accepting the code of the Township of Hamilton, ordinance establishing the code of the Township of Hamilton, New Jersey, Part 2, General Legislation, Chapter 153, Cannabis and Medical Cannabis. This is second reading and public hearing.
Okay, we'll follow the same suit that we did with the first two. This ordinance deals with the cannabis, both the medical and recreational definitions, rules on consumption, possession, unregulated sale rules, the issuance of the permits, the number of permits, permit fees, as well as the revocation of permits and licenses. We'll open it up to the public, as we did on the first two, and then we'll reserve comment at the end for my colleagues. At this time, if anyone would like to speak on ordinance 3, 21037, please raise your hand, and you come up to the microphone. Please give your name and address for the record. Come on up, Joe.
Council, my name is John Rodriguez. I'm president, the chair of the local advocacy organization, Mercer. And I'm here today because yesterday morning when I announced, some of the members of the organization and myself have adopted that this particular ordinance was on the original section. And I think that kind of speaks to the overall process that has gone on, both from the state and from council dealing with many that the state has handed down or we passed a bill back in April that set a deadline for you all to figure out.
It's February, right?
It was end of March, beginning of April, around that time, right? About 4 months. And it led to set down an August 21st deadline to figure out what restrictions, ordinances, and regulations can be for the sale of cannabis. And first of all, I know there are a number of towns around New Jersey who are out now banning cannabis sales, so I want to thank you for not doing that, because that would be a much worse baseline than we're doing here. But I do want to highlight that in this ordinance that we're talking about, there's very minimal amounts, depending on all, for the retail sale of cannabis at this time. And we put out the petition over the past less than 24 hours, and it's already on 1,200 signatures on that. But I do most of the time, so it's not my petition, it's hard to until you look at the signatures. But, and this petition is specifically objective to a few things in this ordinance that I just wanted to go through very briefly. The first one is lack of retail sales locations. This ordinance really stands because there were multiple locations in Hamilton. Despite the fact that I was voted 2-1 in favor of referring back in the email election. So I will point out that there are delivery services in the ordinance that we want to look at. As I said, this does not seem to be the case, the same case as in other towns, in Bend, Rockville, the ordinance, and the utility as well. But I also want to highlight that there are other towns that utilize that profile and similarly to how the population demographics that chose to go different way in this and to limit delivery services. For example, Morris Township, their current ordinance as proposed, I believe they're going to be voting on pretty soon, allows for two establishments along the border, and it grandfathers in any existing establishments as well, which, to my knowledge, is a medical dispensary in Lawrence. We're doing that, we're going through the process to get a medical dispensary before any of the cannabis legalization happen. So, it's my understanding of putting establishments up. Currently, is working with the county board to open up a much larger market than any other towns that I mentioned at this point. I mean, it's a wide decision on their part, they don't even provide sufficient supply to meet the demand, so the prices don't skyrocket. And that's really the concern here comes down to the lack of retail sales locations. You're dealing with the largest population in town, in Mercer County. And two delivery services are not just going to service the township area, it's also going to service the surrounding township, going to an even larger market, and it's just two delivery services. And that's minimal competition. That is very high demand and a very questionable supply, especially for the same industry. I think if you look at the economics of the situation, it's putting yourself in a difficult spot to meet the residents' needs in terms of what they want from this investment, what they voted for. So that's the first thing. The second thing is also, in addition to the retail locations, medical dispensaries are also included in that. There's no allowance for medical dispensaries to be someone, or whoever is looking at access to delivery service, because the market elevates the prices significantly, that can make it harder for the consumer. There's a dedication to
So, we are at our 4-minute time limit. It's okay. Sit tight for a minute. If there's nobody else that wants to come up, then we're going to let you come back up for a second.
I'll add, just want to add that maybe the most important thing I want to is the cost of the premise.
Okay,
Because
just,
the price and ability to organize.
we're at that point. Let me just check. If there's nobody else that wants to speak, then you can just step aside for 1 second. And if there's nobody else that wants to come up, then you can, okay. You might as well have a seat. We do have somebody in the back.
I'm sorry, Council President, I'm sorry, sir, I didn't get your last name nor your address for the record. Would you spell that, please?
You're supposed to say common spelling. Come on.
Where's that work? It's easy.
The gentleman in the back with your hand up, you can come on up, sir.
You were very good. What's your address?
Just when you come up for the record, just state your name and address for the record, okay?
Thank you.
While he's on his way up, I just want to address one of the issues raised, which is that we are, in fact, issuing a medical cannabis establishment permit, at least one.
There's a mention in the ordinance that there is no permitted, but there's a separate mention in the ordinance that there will be one permitted, so that is, it's kind of confusing. I
Okay.
pointed that out.
It's okay. When you come back up, we'll address everything.
That's okay.
Thank you.
Hi, sir.
Yes. My name is Gene Giordano, 57 Argyle Avenue, New Jersey. I'm here today as a representative of the United Food Commercial Workers Union.
Excuse me 1 second. Do you need his name for the record?
We've got it.
Okay, thank you. Just wanted to make sure she's writing everything down.
The USCW is a national labor union of 1.3 million more working families. And we're the official cannabis labor union of U.S. and Canada. That's the one that. We represent from seed to sale, so that's cultivation, manufacturing, warehousing, transportation, and retail sales. And I wanted to also say that we're working directly with our union brothers and sisters in the building trades, in the retrofit and build out, so the team fitters, carpenters, they will be doing the retrofit. That's when we want to great deal of our labor rights. 2 things. One, the costs are high for permits. And in order to have those high costs, and we're going to attract certain types of employers, mostly from Canada and West Coast, MSOs. If we're going to do that, then we need to make sure that we protect workers and citizens. My suggestion is the City of Bayonne's merit-based application system. The City of Bayonne passed an ordinance about 3 months ago, And in that ordinance, they have a merit-based system that looks at labor standards. If they all workers at one point, they're not quite workers yet. Environmental standards, if they live in Canada and Colorado, they're not doing it. So it lays out a system, it mirrors the state system. In the medical realms, it's the same exact thing. And it mirrors S21, some of the standards they want in the bill. And I know that the commission is still filling out their rules and regs, but they base it off the bill, and off the past medical. So it's a great way to protect workers, citizens, and visitors, and it protects the working class overall. And it's important to do that. So without the merit-based system in this ordinance, or if you're going to get that later, there is no equity within this ordinance if you don't have a merit-based system. And that was the state's management of the social equity.
A merit-based system?
Point system, right?
Yes. The other thing I would like to offer is a tour of the Garden State Dispensary in Woodbridge. You haven't seen a fully vertical facility. It's one of the original 6. And it was the first to go union, so I love it the most. We have other facilities, but they're the most transparent. And they do a really good job, I think, in other towns, through their cities and boroughs. And I think it would be a great opportunity, especially if people want knowledge, see for yourself. You don't have to wonder about, an article about Colorado or Washington State. We can see it for ourselves. It's right here. And I want to offer that. So on behalf of the AFL-CIO, on behalf of the UFCW and the building trades, we hope that the merit-based system will be part of it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Business card?
Yes.
Melissa,
Yes, sir.
could you just offer some clarity on the medical cannabis establishment?
Thank you.
Okay, so what is it?
Well, it says we're going to be issuing up to 1 permit. So is that correct, or?
That is correct, maximum number of permits is township review. So in addition to the two cannabis and 1 medical marijuana establishments.
Okay, so
So it's...
I just want to clarify for the member of the public who didn't have clarity on that.
Okay, do we have anyone else in the public that would like to speak? Oh, come on up, man. When you come up, please state your name and address for the record. And then Joe, if there's nobody else, we'll bring it back.
Hi, my name is Lynn Pillow, and I'm at 2750 Breaker Ridge Road, and I'm a cat groomer. But I also own a small business right here in Hamilton, and just a few years ago, 6 months of arguing culminated in a fight for my business to be allowed to open in front of the zoning board of adjustment.
I'm sorry, what kind of business did you say?
I'm a cat groomer.
A cat?
I groom cats. I have a cat grooming and boarding business in Hamilton.
All right.
As someone in a small, weird, niche business industry, I had come to expect people who didn't understand to support me. But what I didn't anticipate was how much pushback I would get from my own township. The township I had grown up in, where my friends, family, and neighbors all lifted me up. Where I thought small local businesses and communities were supported. But reading this proposed ordinance brings back the memories of that difficult journey that I had to open a small industry, a small business, in a misunderstood but growing industry. And I have to ask, why? Why does Hamilton Township not want more small businesses? We have empty storefronts dotted all over major roadways. Empty lots where previous businesses used to be located, and an ever-growing number of cold, gigantic warehouses where there was once grass and trees. Is the goal of this ordinance to only allow large corporate-type businesses with no ties to our community to dominate the landscape? Because I know in my business, people travel from all over the state to visit our little town of Hamilton. While they wait a few hours that I ask them to bring their cats, they visit the locally owned restaurant for lunch, shop at the small boutiques in the plaza across the street, or just read a book at one of our beautiful local parks. Because that's what small businesses do. They bring life and sense of community, which is sorely needed in this time of smartphones and virtual meetings. If that's what this township stands for, then we have a lot of work to do to make the process more friendly and accessible to other small businesses, especially in an industry where our local community has voted to welcome it. In time, the ordinances need to reflect that and not set a poor precedent for prohibiting legal businesses.
Thank you. And thanks for locating your... Thank you for locating your business here in Hamilton. One thing I'd like to point out to you and to everyone who's interested, we're not enabling retail yet. We're also reserving, pending further regulation and guidance from the state, we may allow additional micro-business permits. So that is something where, my hope is that we're going to move forward with retail and micro-business regulations simultaneously, so that hopefully the outcome of that will be we'll give a better chance to small local business owners to get those permits. And by the way, regarding the permit fees, I just want to point out to everyone that we're setting a fee level, which is our ceiling for the fees. So any fee level that we set over the next 5 years, we will not be able to raise that, but we will be able to lower it. So we are starting high, but that's because the way it's regulated at the state, we wouldn't have the option to raise those fees for the next 5 years. We can start high and go lower, but we can't start lower and go higher for the next 5 years. So it's a new industry. We're finding our way, and we will have the flexibility in the future, depending on market circumstances, to accommodate. And hopefully the micro-business regulations that are going to be, the guidance that's going to be coming from the state are going to enable us to include more business owners like yourself.
I just know, and to be honest, I really don't have anything for or against the cannabis industry in particular. I just know how difficult it was for me to go through and slog through the process to open a business with ordinances that the wording made it very difficult to work around. And I'm worried that including a prohibition in this first round of ordinances makes it incredibly difficult to go back and change them. If I was a home-based business, and let me tell you, the planning board that I worked with and the members of the township had no idea what to do with me. Even though my business wasn't prohibited by any wording. It was 6 months of arguing. It's just me, out of my home. I grow a couple cats a day and I have 4 families of cats basically at a time. And so I can't imagine an industry that's even more misunderstood than cat grooming, because nobody knows that cats don't groom themselves. But I just worry that putting this type of strong language in off the bat is setting the wrong message for down the road, because I know that all decisions that are made after this are really based on these ordinances. And so that's my main concern. After having done the process of opening a small business in Hamilton, it is not user-friendly. And it's very frustrating. And I worry that, I completely understand what you're saying about the higher fees, and hopefully we can bring them down for the micro businesses, but removing the small retailers and only having the larger businesses of manufacturing and warehouses and things like that is not really small town friendly, which is kind of not what a lot of people want in the township, at least in terms of all the big warehouses and stuff like that. So that's just what I want to say.
Before you run away, I would like to speak with you after the meeting and find out where your complications were with the board, because we don't want that happening. So,
No problem.
we would like to pass that back.
Mainly that I had to go through a use variance when, and actually, it all worked out. The zoning board of adjustments was wonderful, but I really hit a snag because they just didn't have enough people apply for that type of permit. And so I think it just made me kind as a runaround, end up sitting in the
So,
office for hours.
after the meetings, if you have a couple of minutes, otherwise, if you want to send me an email, I would like to hear it, because we can't have that.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mr. President, can I also address your concern? Kind of building on what Councilman Ty was saying, I just wanted to also, so as we, and Alyssa, you can correct me if I'm wrong, the rules and regulations from the state on retail have yet to be established. So where we've been able to get rules and regulations on what we're allowing currently, those deadlines have already, they're very close and they're probably not going to be met. So we don't have any of those rules and regulations. So for us to authorize it without that, you know, it just kind of feels uncomfortable to do that without the...
And to include retailers, one of the regulations.
I believe we'll reconsider once we see what those rules and regulations will be.
We have to wait and see where these rules come in, and then we'll make our
But
decision.
they haven't given any guidance on that yet.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Council President, and correct me if I'm wrong, I mean, we're passing ordinances tonight, you know, establishing land use, you know, all this cannabis legislation, that once the state gets our ordinances and reviews them, we could be amending some of these ordinances.
They really didn't do us a favor by
Right.
telling us something had to be passed and then not put out the rules at the beginning.
Right.
It's kind of like playing a game and then making up the rules as you go along, and it put us behind the eight ball.
But also, we need to file these ordinances by a certain date and have it established so the state doesn't control this town, for an extended period of time. I think it's 5 years, so.
They have to be enacted by the 21st.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you. Somebody else have anybody else have a question?
Yeah, someone on that.
Well, please state your name and address for the record.
Dave Masters, 2386, 21 Collins Square Road.
Thank you.
My comment is that, this meeting is about being brave enough to make good ones, and to put something out there. Yes, we're gonna have to revise anything that's passed today. So why do it all? Because the establishment of that will allow for others to see our example. I also want to say that anything that we do in terms of all businesses across the board also needs to have a level of equity, racial and economic equity tied to that. That's all I have to say.
That's okay. So just, if I could just comment real quick. The only stipulation here is that we can, if we make our rules now and they come back, we can make our rules more relaxed but not more strict. So if we make them relaxed and realize we did something wrong, we cannot make them more strict for 5 years, which is why we went on the stricter end, and then we can back off when need be.
This is similar to the financial aspect of the performance, right? You need to make it high, but so in making it high and making it strict, that hinders the small business from getting started. That encourages the big businesses from Canada and elsewhere to come in and don't be established. They can meet those fees, they can meet those stricter standards. So consider creating a roadmap where you get to actually speak to individuals, meet them, and decide, can this person operate a business in our town? I don't know if that's something that can be done or not, I'm kind of new to all this, but the main point is to be considerate.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Question is, right now we're kind of moving in place, waiting for August, correct? After August, do you have a set plan for when to revisit some of these ordinances and start thinking about it?
I can't speak for the mayor. I think I would have to defer to the town attorney, but I would think that we're waiting to see where the rules from the state come in, correct?
Right, I need to receive the rules, I need to analyze them, And then, working with my client, which is the Township Administration, then we can see what needs to be amended, what needs to be changed, what can be added, what can be taken away.
I'd like to also see the experiences of some of our neighboring towns around the state and what their experience with retail is, and learn from any mistakes of the towns that do jump in right away. You know, sometimes like that V2O, that's the better version, right? So if we can learn from the mistakes of some of our neighbors who jump in early, then maybe we'll wind up something with that better fits our town.
I understand that. My only concern is that waiting too long would just put us behind the ball, and more revenue, the tax revenue can generate in our town versus other towns. COVID-19 is exposed to how many small businesses, we need new small businesses, and that's again, I heard a lot of people talk about the large businesses coming in. I just hope that consideration is there, so it might be a year or two down the road and you kind of miss the growth.
We work very fast.
Okay.
Thank you for
She
coming.
doesn't sleep, by the way.
Any other questions? Yes, sir. Sure. Just please state your name and address for the record when you come up. Thank you.
JR 24 hours, Oasis 619. Hey guys, I was going to say anything about this, but I was listening, I was thinking, and I watched it kind of happen in California and different places, and the young folks are ready, the local people got just cut out, the small business people got cut out. I'm sure these young folks researched it, they know about it, I know a little bit about it. So what I think they're saying is you gotta kind of aggressively fight for a small business, and we have a ton of people, it's a huge town, a ton of jobs. And if you kind of sit on there like, well, we're just kind of, not that you guys, I know you're kind of in a bit of a position like that. But yeah, that's when Canada comes in, and big guys come in, and they just put another giant warehouse, of which I thought that was Mercer County's new lockup, the Snap-on building, that first row past it, with the burnout fire on ShopRite. I've never saw marijuana, cigarettes in my town, have little shops, friendly business, happier people, less people get run over, than giant warehouses. I just can't take it. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people feel that way. And they're gonna start acting on it with those. So,
Yeah, and I just want to say, I do think that looking at retail in tandem with the micro business regulations gives us the best chance to cultivate and support local business owners. You know, if we go in with retail with nothing in place for micro businesses, that's the best way to guarantee the outcome that you don't want. The out-of-state, out-of-country businesses winding up running our retail operations. So I think that doing those in tandem gives us the best shot for the outcome that you all are saying you want.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? Yes, ma'am, come on up. Joe, I promise, we're gonna get you back up. Gotta give everybody their first shot.
He's here, very comfortable, I'm good.
Maybe better with arms.
Hi, I'm Michelle Kawhi, that's 201 City Town, Township.
Thank you.
So I lived in the area on Hamilton until 2 years ago. So I had a few years to check out my dentist, my doctor, my bagel shop, where I like to get my coffee. And I'm sure by now, like, we've all figured out where we want to go and where we like to, like, patron for the small businesses. And if we don't jump on it now, I know I feel like I'm being a dentist at this point. But if we don't jump on it now, we are going to miss out. We cannot wait, we cannot be saying yes, because the other towns are going to jump on it first.
Thank you. Marijuana's not going away. I don't think we're losing out. It's not going away. But we do appreciate your opinions and your comments. Thank you. Anyone else that would like to speak? Come on up, Joe. It's your turn. So you do get the additional 2 minutes. I know there were some unanswered questions.
I'll try to be quick. I want to address some of the other things that said very briefly. Mentioned that, we learned some states go to towns. We've got a couple of states that have already legalized, and just New Jersey is not nearly unique enough that we can't take lessons learned from that. Additionally, as we pointed out, if you keep waiting, you're going to sound off business opportunities, tax revenue, and people who are going to form their habits, right? And the new businesses starting up, they're going to have a harder time. I also want to point out that there's kind of a mixed logic here that I'm picking up on, where you want to wait for the state to establish the rules for the cannabis industry to, kind of based on your regulations off that as much as you can. But at the same time, you're willing to count on the fact that the state's going to regulate micro businesses properly. I think it's better to proceed in a cautious way there, at the very least, to make sure that you have micro businesses, small businesses, and you start out with a lower ceiling, right? Because you spoke about the current process of ceiling. That means it's the highest cost you could conceive of that would work for businesses here. How that battle is $25,000 to get started and $15,000 every year after that reasonable. It's just, the number is astronomically large compared to something like Liquor, let's say. I know state liquor licenses are crazy, but we don't even know what states can charge for licenses for cannabis yet. But for a township permit for a liquor store, it's $200 going up, it's $40 every year after that. It's like 25 times worse, but over 100 times simpler than anyone would consider, whether it's the liquor store, it's $5 and $1,000, or the retail location, it's $25 and $10. Excuse me. It's a lot, it's a big difference. So I think that's one of the important things to revisit. The other thing I want to highlight, I want to start against this, was the process that got us here, right? The council had 4 months to figure out an ordinance that was. June 11th, there was an announcement that the ordinance was going to go be heard for first reading on June 15th. The first reading, we got the ordinance. It was announced on the Township website and on the Tap Into article. And as far as I know, up until today, there has been no formal or explicit outreach to the community to try to hear from them and involve them in the process. Leonardville did a working group, I think. And, Leonardville did a working group, Bobo did a community forum event, trying to work with their planning, working with their community. And now, at this point, if there's no way to fix the problems that we're pointing out in this ordinance before the deadline, honestly, I would rather let the market define where and how many businesses are able to sell cannabis in town. I would rather you guys vote no on this. If the only choice is to pass this ordinance or not pass the ordinance and let the market figure it out, I would rather have that. And you can have the ordinance to make sure that you have a say in where those businesses can be in terms of zoning, but you wouldn't restrict the number of businesses in this way. I would much rather have a no vote if there's no way to fix the problem before that.
Okay.
And I understand you were like to respectfully disagree, but by taking as long as council did to involve the community and put forward an actual ordinance, that's what put us in a situation. The township, the people of the township are not responsible for that.
Okay. You are out of time, with 2-minute timer to go off. Did you have any of your first questions that you wanted to answer that we didn't touch on?
I think most of what I wanted to know, answer, I think,
Okay.
that's what, that's that.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, absolutely, thank you for, bearing with me, going through all this stuff, but.
It's okay.
I would urge you to either have in mind a process to address this and involve the community in addressing this, to hear what we all want.
Understood.
If you do choose to pass this, otherwise I would encourage you to vote.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Also, here's the division.
It's 99 votes, I saw it on. You can bring it up. We'll
Setting
take
up the unique email address, I think all 80 unique ones, people click like twice.
It's okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else that would like to speak on ordinance number 3, 21037? Come on up, Mustafa.
The fees here, 25 grand, et cetera, are high from what you said, yeah? So I told what they do in Colorado for vehicles. So for a new application, 4 grand. new applications for temporary medical cultivation facilities, and $1,750. They haven't rolled it out with full guidance. So I guess, just pose the question in my mind, how did you get this $25,000? Compared to Colorado, it's kind of lived through this already. And some of the fees are as low as, $3,000, $1,800, if you're growing, annual renewal fees are $3,000 to $6,000, and $800. So how did you get to the costs that are in your recommendation for the township?
Vanessa?
Yeah, so I spoke with the chief of police, I spoke with, community development, I did my own work, and it's the cost of training, it's the cost of potential additional police and health inspectors, it's the cost of additional administration officials to implement, it's the cost of training, it's, remember, we, as I said similar before, most of us lived to the time of just say no, and so we have to sort of retrain all of us. It is also the cost of traffic, and so it's round numbers, and remember also, ABC licenses, not from us, but generally speaking, it's $100,000 more, that's
I thought I heard say it's much lower than big administration. I thought it was
You buy a license, there are a finite number, and you're going to buy, so private business owners buy those licenses from one another, and they can go for $250,000 or more, depending on the location. So, those are the costs to get into the alcohol business,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions or comments from the public? Seeing none. Oh, I can see back here. That's okay.
Michelle Frantic. I just want to agree with Governor Martinez. It would be really good if the council would hear from the public, separate from the council meeting, or from planning board meetings, or zoning board meetings, hear what, outside of the vote, what people want and how they want this issue handled. Thank you.
Thank you. Good. Any questions or comments from council on ordinance 3?
Council President, I would just like to comment, I'm sorry, move to close the public portion. As far as small businesses, I've been here 16 years, and to me, Hamilton, as we always say, it's a serious, we're a big little town or a small big town. Everyone knows everybody, even though we're 90,000 or 80,000. I have full confidence that we will revisit this. I think we value the administration, the council, our town citizens value all of the small businesses. We just went through a very difficult time with COVID and worked very, very closely with all the small businesses and supported them. So I don't think there's any intention here in trying to avoid that completely. At least this is my opinion, is I would want to revisit it. I'm not comfortable without having some kind of guidance on that yet, though. So that was just a statement I wanted to make.
Thank you. Councilman Tyler, Councilman Well.
Yeah, real quick, I agree with Nancy. I think that, especially this last year, I think it was proven of how we adjust our small businesses and all the businesses in Hamilton to keep them going, especially through this pandemic. And, I think this council and this administration has done and will continue to do everything we can to help our small businesses, because they're the most important, they're the backbone of this township as far as I'm concerned. So, I appreciate, the comments that came from the public tonight regarding the cannabis ordinance and the discussions that we've had. And yes, the further discussions need to be had down the road where public input and wherever you have a group setting such as this where we can come in and have them discussions, I'd be open for that.
And I'd just like to add, I'd like to thank everyone for their comments and for their input on this issue. I think we're proceeding at the right pace. We're proceeding with caution. I often talk about preserving quality of life for our residents, for all of our residents. And I think that this ordinance and the process that we are adhering to enables us to proceed at the right pace for our community.
Thank you. And I'll keep it real brief. We hear you. We're listening. You're not allowed to record in our meetings, ma'am. I saw you earlier, but you can't do that. That's okay. That's okay. I'm sorry? You need to have that in advance permission, correct?
Yes, permission.
Yeah. We've already been through that in this town. That's okay, no worries. So one thing I do want to say, I do understand the application fees are high, but just even a quick search online, there's lists of other states with $30,000 annual permit fees. New York, our neighboring state, is $200,000 initial registration fee. So I do understand that the fees do seem high. I do understand that Ohio has $180,000 initial fee. $20,000 to $200,000 annual license renewal. So these are just random ones that I'm scrolling through as I looked up. Application fee in Pennsylvania is $10,000. Application fee could also go up to $200,000 depending on the business. So I do understand the concern. I do support the small business idea. We would like to speak later. I am comfortable where we are. I'm comfortable because I believe that we are following a strategic plan, that we are following and waiting for the state guidelines, and we will follow. With that said, we also do understand that this town passed cannabis legalization by 2-1 margin. So I do understand that as well. So it's not that we're not listening, but we're trying to do the right thing because you're right, we were elected to sit up here and we want to do the smart thing for the town, not shoot from the hip. We're trying to make the most well-informed decision we can. This is the plan that we have gone with. I am comfortable where we are. I do appreciate everybody that came up here. I do appreciate the input, and I'll leave it at that. And at this point, do we have a motion?
Council President, I'll make a motion to pass ordinance 321-037.
Point of order, we need to close the public comment. That wasn't seconded. Was it seconded, Madam Clerk?
No, it has not been seconded.
So why don't we just...
Okay, so I'll move to close the public comment.
You have to speak into a microphone if you want.
The public portion is closed.
There's in there that might cancel out the medical. I forgot to mention it while there's this particular clause number that might need to go back and correct.
The attorney addressed that, and we can talk offline after. You can even come back up during public comment. I'm sorry, Pat. Sorry for jumping.
When we close the public portion, we usually close the public portion, take the motion, and then second the motion. But the second the motion is to adopt, not just to close. So we close it, we then ask for a motion, and second it. It is closed, you can ask again, but we are correct in our procedures.
Okay, Council President, I will again repeat that I have closed the public portion and moved to pass ordinance 321-037.
I'll second that.
Madam Clerk?
On the motion, Mr. Ty?
Yes.
Mr. Whalen?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Reparo?
Yes.
Ordinance passes 4-0. Moving on to ordinance 4, which is 21-038, an ordinance authorizing the conveyance of title of block 2163, lot 3.01 to Project Freedom.
Ordinance number 421-038. Any questions or comments from council on this ordinance? Yeah, the resolutions will come up next. Okay, and this is for Project Freedom, Block 2163. Any questions or comments from council?
No.
Okay, any questions or comments from the public? Ordinance 4, which is 21-038. This authorizes the conveyance of Lot 3.01 to, or 2163, Lot 3.01 to Project Freedom. Okay, seeing no questions or comments from the public, do we have a motion?
Yes, Council President, I move to close the public portion and move on ordinance number 421-038.
One second, Bridget.
I'll second the motion.
Madam Clerk?
Mr. Ty?
No.
Mr. Whalen?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Reparo?
Yes.
Ordinance passes 3-1. Council President, the following resolutions pertain to ordinance 21-038. Resolution 5 is 21-286, a resolution authorizing temporary access for a portion of Justice Samuel Alito Jr. Way.
Okay, I just want to point out, anybody that's following along on our agenda form, under the resolutions, you will see it says ordinance 567. These are resolutions. The reason they come under the ordinance is because if ordinance 21-038 didn't pass, then those wouldn't be needed. That's why they weren't in the resolution section. So if you see it and you get confused, I just wanted to point that out to you. So resolution 21-286. Anyone on council have any comments or questions on 21-286?
This is basically granting them access for construction.
Yes, sir. Any other questions or comments? Any questions or comments from the audience, from the residents on 21-286? Resolution number 21-286. Okay, seeing none, do we have a motion?
I'll make, Council President, I move to close the public portion and move on ordinance number 521-286.
I'll second the motion.
Madam Clerk?
Councilperson, I just want to clarify, this is a resolution as opposed to the motion and indicate ordinance, so just to indicate that it is a resolution 21-286.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Sorry, Mr. Whalen.
That's okay.
I want you to be right.
No, yeah, I'd like you to make me right.
Mr. Ty?
No.
Mr. Whalen?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Reparo?
Yes.
Resolution passes 3-1. Resolution 6 is 21-287, a resolution declaring an emergency. In order for ordinance number 21-038, conveyance of title of block 2163, lot 3.01 to Project Freedom to become effective immediately upon adoption on July 20th, 2021, pursuant to the Code of the Township of Hamilton, Section 5-34.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from council? Seeing none, do we have any questions or comments on resolution 21-287 from the public? Okay, seeing none, do we have a motion?
Council President, I make a motion to close the public comment and move on resolution 21-287.
I'll second.
Madam Clerk?
Mr. Ty?
No.
Mr. Whalen?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Reparo?
Yes.
Passes 3-1. Resolution 7 is 21-288, a resolution approving grant of monies from the Affordable Housing Trust Fund to cover costs of inspection fees for the building Project Freedom Village at Hamilton.
Great, and this is approving, bless you. Bless you. I was waiting for another one. So, resolution is approving grant monies from the Affordable Housing Trust for Project Freedom and inspection fees of such. Any questions or comments from council? Okay, seeing none, do we have any questions or comments from the public? Okay, seeing none, do we have a motion?
Council President, I'll make a motion to move on Resolution 21-288.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Mr. Todd?
No.
Mr. Whalen?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Reparo?
Yes.
Resolution passes 3-1. Moving on to ordinances under first reading and introduction. Ordinance 1 is ordinance 21-039. An ordinance amending and supplementing the Code of the Township of Hamilton, New Jersey, Part 2, General Legislation, Chapter 317, Nuisances, and repealing the previous Chapter 317 in its entirety.
Okay, on first reading, do we have a motion for 21-039?
I'll make a motion on first reading and introduction of ordinance number 121-039.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Mr. Ty?
Yes.
Mr. Whalen?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Reparo?
Yes.
Passes 4-0. Ordinance 2 is 21-040. An ordinance amending and supplementing the Code of the Township of Hamilton, New Jersey, Chapter 485, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 2, Parking, subsection 485-19, Handicap Parking. This is repealing spaces established at 59 Olympia Avenue by ordinance number 10-044 and 243 Parkinson Avenue by ordinance 15-029.
Okay, do I have a motion on first reading?
Council President, I move ordinance 21-040 on first reading.
I'll second it.
Madam Clerk?
Mr. Ty?
Yes.
Mr. Whalen?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Reparo?
Yes.
Passes 4-0. Ordinance 3 is 21-041, an ordinance accepting a deed of right-of-way dedication from HRP Mercer Urban Renewal LLC for property known as Block 2506, part of lots 8, 26, and 27, also known as 1365 Lamberton Road.
And do we have a motion on first reading?
Council President, I'll make a motion to move on first reading ordinance 321-041, I'm sorry.
Thank
I'll
you.
second that.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Mr. Ty?
Yes.
Mr. Whalen? Ms.
Yes.
Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Reparo?
Yes.
Passes 4-0. Ordinance 4 is 21-042, an ordinance accepting the deed of right-of-way dedication, the Willard Family Partnership for Block 1505, part of Lots 2, 3, and 4, known as 300 Basin Road.
Do we have a motion?
Yes, Council President, I move on first reading and introduction ordinance number 421-042.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Mr. Ty?
Yes.
Mr. Whalen?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Reparo?
Yes.
Passes 4-0. Ordinance 5 is 21-043, an ordinance amending and supplementing the Code of the Township of Hamilton, New Jersey, Part 2, General Legislation, Chapter 215 Fees, subsection 215-6, Department of Health, Recreation, Senior and Veteran Services.
And do we have a motion?
Council President, I'll move ordinance 21-043 on first reading.
I'll second the motion.
Madam Clerk?
Mr. Ty?
Yes.
Mr. Whalen?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Reparo?
Yes.
Passes 4-0. Ordinance 6 is 21-044, an ordinance of the Township of Hamilton and the County of Mercer, New Jersey, providing for various capital improvements and related expenses in and for the township appropriating $16,117,330 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $13,538,310 in general improvement bonds or notes of the township to finance the same.
Do we have a motion?
Council President, I'll make a motion to move on first reading ordinance 621-044.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Mr. Ty?
Yes.
Mr. Whalen?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Reparo?
Yes.
Passes 4-0. Ordinance 7 is 21-045. An ordinance of the Township of Hamilton and the County of Mercer, New Jersey, providing for improvements to Township's wastewater treatment system and for the Township appropriating $9,958,260 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $9,958,260 in sewer utility bonds or notes of the Township to finance the same.
Do we have a motion?
Yes, Council President, I'll move on first reading and introduction ordinance number 7, 21-045.
I'll second that.
Madam Clerk?
Mr. Todd?
Yes.
Mr. Whalen?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Reparo?
Yes.
Passes 4-0. Ordinance 8 is 21-046. An ordinance authorizing dedication of a right-of-way for a portion of Justice Samuel Alito Jr. Way from private to public to accommodate the project Freedom Village at Hamilton.
Do we have a motion?
Council President, make a motion to move on first reading ordinance 821-046.
I'll second it.
Madam Clerk?
Mr. Todd?
No.
Mr. Whalen?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Reparo?
Yes.
Passes 3-1.
Okay, that concludes our agenda for the night. We are going to check our sign-up sheet. Okay, remember, you get 4 minutes on your first trip to the microphone, and we can bring it back for a second, 2 minutes, if we need to finish up. First speaker is Denise Bruce. Did I pronounce that correctly? Oh, good. I don't like mispronouncing people's names. Hi. No, just say your name and address for the record. Thank you.
So I was going to say, so I want to put on record, but it is that happens in Hamilton on Friday, without control. So I don't know if you heard what happened, but I was at the Walmart, and the dog was locked in the hot car, so I got 95 degrees. And I called animal control, I called the police. The dispatcher told me that's not a police matter, that it's animal control. Animal control came out about 10 minutes later. I wrote an email to the neighbor about it. And they said that he got 10 minutes later and said that he couldn't do anything. He said, I'll go inside and page the owner of the vehicle. I asked him if he could put the temperature and barely in front of the window, the two back windows about half the first one cracked down. And he put the thermometer in there and it read 102 degrees. That is inside the car. And he said that there's nothing he can do for the person who doesn't eat people, and that the dog needs to be near death in order for it to come to happen. So he then in turn he will take the owner inside, and I waited outside for him. When he first came from the backyard, he said that he didn't know which part it was. He was the dispatcher of the police, and he gave the wrong information of the car as well. Very important. Either way, he went inside the cage. In the meantime, the lady next to me came and she saw a tag on the dog and she called the number. The owner, the husband, came and called, and the wife came out and let the dog out. The animal control officer came back around finally and did nothing. Absolutely nothing. I asked him when he was done speaking to her. I didn't get into their conversation, and when it was done, I went up to the officer, took her the card, and he was very hesitant to even give me his card, and anything. But he said, I didn't know if there was any citations or anything happening, and he told me that he knows he went to training, he died, so he's nothing's wrong. So I left. He was very intimidating to me, the way he acted. You know, and I was late on that as well, or whatever I needed to speak to. But I mean, my issue obviously is that's not the way the law reads. And he completely went against anything. I don't know as far as I mean, when I called the police department, the dispatcher said it's not a police issue. They said that it was for animal control. For leaving a dog in a hot car is animal cruelty. So I don't understand why humane kilo, as we call it, and or a police officer was not dispatched. I don't understand. Sometimes these type of calls can become very confrontational. The lady, the owner of the dog, was trying to become confrontational with me. So why are not sending a police officer out for my safety, let alone the dog? Like, why is nobody coming out for that? What is the procedure in the Hamilton Police Department that says that a police officer should not be dispatched to these calls? that's I can.
Do you want me to answer one at a time or all together?
Oh, I have 3 days from now.
I will.
So, okay.
I will. The one thing I have to caution, I know my colleagues are aware, there is an ongoing investigation. I did speak to the chief, did speak to the prosecutor. We are not allowed to comment on the particulars of that case because there is an open, ongoing investigation. We will answer those other questions the best we can. But as far as the particular, first of all, thank you, right, from all of us to you. We're dog people up here, so, and I know there's a lot of dog people in the audience, so we appreciate what you did first and foremost, so thank you, you should be recognized. Before I turn it over to my colleagues, just want to say that we can't comment on that particular case. There's an open investigation, and we don't want to be in the middle of that. So if somebody want to jump in and answer some of that, and then,
Well, I just want to echo the council president saying thank you for, being a good citizen, stepping forward and trying to do the right thing. We are limited in what we can comment on based on all the reasons that our council president just enumerated. But I do very much appreciate that you're here tonight and following up on this issue. It's important that we get it right.
And I think it takes a lot of, first of all, it takes a lot of courage what you did, number one. Some people tend to don't want to get confrontational with anybody, but more importantly, you didn't let it rest. You're here tonight. So that's a testament to just you being here. You can't hear me? God, everybody should be able to hear me.
the record over there is going to hear you.
Okay. But anyway, again, thank you for coming here and saying what you had to say tonight. And I know we all take it personal up here too, although, like Council President said, there's not much we can say regarding that matter because it is an investigation, but, we're concerned.
Oh, and that's what I wrote, and not just, obviously I'm told, but the police department itself, and as far as all that goes, I think the whole thing was handled horrendously, something needs to be done, and obviously the huge debacle, of the past year that I thought we were doing better, and it doesn't seem like we are,
There is-
you guys, I'm sure, have something to do with it.
I did speak to the chief earlier, and of the things that I am allowed to say, there is some training that's going to be done to correct that. I also know in other departments of the township, there is training, so this can't happen. So we appreciate it, and thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Clap for it. Come on, Ty. We're good.
I saw her, I kind of know where I'm from, we've had discussions and talked about stuff, but my question today has to do with truck signs for Cornell House. So my neighbor was here, but he left. We reached out over the weekend to our Valley. He did speak with my neighbor's wife, directly one-on-one. And as you know, in the past, Mr. Devon came to my home, inappropriate, he was at my house, and I hesitated him. Came unannounced, 8 a.m., and Kathy came and talked about what was going on with the truck signs. You were with him,
Yes.
and I had to say to him, I need for you to reel yourself in, because he was very crazy, okay, inappropriate. I did nothing to provoke that, nothing, right, nothing. Time was over. He's frustrated, right, this has been going on for 8 years. So, the conversation with my neighbor, now I was not a participant in that conversation, but some of the comments that he made to my neighbor, such as long as I'm in my role, you will never see these signs come up in your neighborhood. Those trucks. Okay. Well, that is, okay. The DOT approved something. The expectation is that the sign gets put up. It is unacceptable. It indeed that is what he said. Okay.
How long ago was that conversation?
That was just like Friday, Thursday last week with my neighbor. He also made another statement that was very strong. Again, I was not in this conversation. I'm repeating what my neighbor said to me. He was here or he said, Mr. Dumont said to my neighbor, they must have had an exchange of words. Okay. He said, if you ever call this office again, I will have you arrested. So I look at how he treated me when I was very kind to him on my own front porch. So I reached out to Anthony and Monty and said, we need to call my neighbor directly. They had the conversation directly. Then I made an update. So I'm going to pause with everything I just said. What's the update? There's no information in the meetings today about where the ordinance is. You have to write the ordinance and tell you see that nothing from the township on where the ordinance is. So can somebody give an update of what's happening? Because all this at once, so.
It's, yeah, I know about this, and I'm working on it, should be on the next meeting.
The ordinance? Okay. So is it going to include weight as well as size of the truck?
Yeah, it should. I have to, we'll do that. I will work on it, I will let you know what needs to be there and what's allowed.
Okay. I would ask, that maybe some training happen from Mr. Dumont that pertains to interaction.
The only thing we're going to say is at this point it's hearsay, because we weren't there. Someone told you that something happened. And Director Dumont was very instrumental in making this happen. I understand that you guys have your differences, but that particular instance is hearsay because we weren't there. There's no evidence of that conversation taking place, and neither person that was involved in the conversation is actually here.
Yeah, so, but the conversation I had with him on my porch, Mr. Rowland was there.
Understand,
That was probably a year ago,
Yeah,
correct?
but still, you know.
But at that meeting, I thought Mr. Dumont handled himself very well. I thought he handled it. Well, when I was there with him inside your house,
We weren't inside, we were on the porch that day when you guys came.
But I remember-
Talking on Saturday. I didn't even need to back up with what you just said to me, because he was pretty wound up. You were with him.
on a Saturday,
Yes, it was.
I'd have to go back and look, but I thought it was a weekday when we came there first, and it was in November.
It was Saturday.
So, obviously,
I
that is, right, but as far as that other conversation, if they would like to come in and speak to somebody from the administration, they're more than welcome to.
Yeah, just go to Anthony about it, we can speak with, the wife and.
Okay.
Yeah, so, but, you know, we want to know when the signs are going on.
Well,
We've been waiting for 8 years to get this to happen, so. we look forward to
Township
it.
attorney said it'll be on the next agenda, she's working on it, and hopefully we'll get an update for you, but
And I think the important thing for anybody who hasn't been following the play-by-play for the last 8 years is that we, as a body, did repeatedly request signs banning trucks from your neighborhood. We were told by the previous administration that it could not be done. We were told that the state told the previous administration that it could not be done. This administration proactively went back to work on that issue, involved Assemblyman Benson, involved Assemblyman D'Angelo. They helped us with the state to get them to see our side of the story on why we don't want trucks in your neighborhood, because it's a nice, quiet residential neighborhood, and we have been successful in getting permission to keep trucks off your streets. So we are going to be getting it. The details are being worked out about exactly what the signs are going to say. But, you know, the good news is, after many years of effort, we're finally getting trucks off the streets in Cornell Heights.
And just final note, Friday, we have our meeting with, the CEO of Synergy. I sent you all an invitation to that, get-together, kind of a big effort to save our homes, allowing out the streets, and, was very interested in the huge storm that happened on Saturday. When I walked that, Sleeper Avenue, took photos, this is ours with all of this, rain that we had and the crazy weather. has been growing like a jungle. That jungle saved us because FEMA sent out an alert on the application. Flood level would have been 9.75, we got to 9.47. So it's almost ready to come over. And if it wasn't for the fact that that farm is confiscating stuff, it has the tickets, it's ever been, the board and tickets, it's ever been in 20 years that I was there. We would have done this. We really would have done this. So he knocked down all the trees, grows. And I realized they approved everything for him, but we agreed to meet with the community, and it'd be great if you guys could dial in, be on Zoom, or via the
Karen, do you remember what time that, I know I saw your invitation.
Yeah, I think it's like 4:30.
At Jerseyville, right? Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Terry Pfeiffer.
This is the microphone. Ms. Pfeiffer, can you speak a little bit louder? Yeah.
Couple of things I want to mention. One of the things is the dog on the past weekend. And I'd like to know what is your policy in regards to animals in cars? The state goes to that.
Yeah, with it. And I have the state statute with us.
Okay, hold on.
Is it here? Hold on a second.
Is it 85 degrees?
There's nothing. It's 85 degrees in the shelter, and that's regulation of the law. It's 90 degrees at the tether, and there's nothing in the car. I will read it to you. Take some time back.
Hold on, I'm going to look.
Okay, according to 422-17-5C3, inside of the vehicle, a dog, domestic animal, or service animal is kept in the vehicle in a manner for which a length of time when the person should reasonably know possesses an adverse risk to the safety or health of the animal. In 422-17-A3, to leave the living animal or creature unattended in the vehicle under inhumane conditions adverse to the health or welfare of the living animal or creature. In 422-26C, leave the living animal or creature unattended in a vehicle under inhumane conditions adverse to the health or welfare of the living animal or creature. So it's repeated in multiple statutes. Okay? Yes. I want to know what the township's policy is.
It's in the township SOPs. The township, I know the township, you want the township police SOP? I don't have that in front of me.
Well, no, I want the township SOP. I want to know what the township policy is, because Mayor Martin put out a statement today that said, if you see anything that looks like animal cruelty, do what was done over this weekend in Hamilton Township Police. Well, if this weekend repeats itself, an animal could be dead or suffer neurological problems. And the law clearly states, that animal, absolutely, without a doubt, the police should have been called. The police could have, without a doubt, used the warrant of seizure to get into that car. Okay? And I'm not certain that you have those things in your policies, and I want to know what your policies are.
Right, we can't quote them chapter and verse, we'd have to get back to you. So if you want one of us to call you back about that, we'd be happy to have someone from the township call you
The
back.
proper call is to make the call to the police department. That was the proper, that was...
But the police department don't explain. So, I guess I'm saying, and you can't speak on it.
We can't speak on it.
Right, so I'm not asking you to speak department sends an investigation. I want to know what the policy is when you call the police department. What exactly is the policy for the township?
And again, for that level of specificity, we can have that conversation, but someone would have to get back to you, Tammy.
Policy for
I'm genuinely concerned about the whole issue, and that,
Because we share your concern.
Absolutely.
We share your concern.
and I was also wondering if the below, and I understand there's only one now, because the police chief, when the other two were promoted, did not take the leadership to fill those positions, and when we were missing two below, did not even react to fill those positions. So, I want to know, what is the plan on getting them filled? And are you, as the council, following up on it?
I spoke to the chief of police at 10 o'clock this morning, who advised me that any problems that are there will be fixed, there will be additional training provided, and the procedures will be followed.
Additional training for who?
For the helos, I believe we have 3 helos in town. You know better than me then, but this is the conversation
I'm
that...
just telling you what I've been told.
Who told you that?
By law enforcement, okay?
I spoke to the chief, who assured me we have 3 helos in this town. If you know something different, or you heard something
I'm
different...
just telling you what I was told to say connected.
Okay.
So, that doesn't matter.
Well, we're asking us to
If
be
you're-
But I'm an elected official.
Okay. But as of right now, the 4 minutes is up. Let's see if there's anybody else on the list that wants to come up, and then we can bring it back up for 2. Mr. Giordano, I believe he stepped out. He was from UFCW 152. It looks like he's not here. Hugh Giordano, if you're still here?
He's the, mayor worker union,
Yeah, we know. That's what we know. Thank you. Appreciate it. Ms. Piper, if you want to come back up, it doesn't appear if anybody else wants to,
This will be very, very quick.
I was just going behind us. I'm sorry. She actually had her hand up first, so I'm gonna call, no, come on up. You had your hand up first, it's fair.
Janice Fisher, I'm at 58 Morris Avenue in Manasquan. However, I was born and raised in Hamilton Square, New Jersey, so this is truly my hometown. But I do a lot of legislative work. I'm a volunteer, a lot of drafting of animal-friendly bills and lobbying. And one of my projects with the ASPCA was the proper shelter bill. So I know that you've heard from 2 other people. I think the comment I would like to make, because part of this last 40 years since New Jersey SPCA has been expanded, it created a problem for a lot of police departments because they got a lot of other duties, obviously. And there's always going to be a rough period of time. But 4 years later, I would hope things will work out and we'll figure out how to do this. I think this weekend showed that animal control does not have the training. They are not trained on those up-to-date 2017 amendments, 2019 amendments to the animal cruelty law. Have this, I don't want to badmouth this animal control officer. He may be, a crackerjack and everything else he does. But he did not, I saw the videos, he did not know the law. And I don't want to blame him, maybe because he is relied upon when he should be. You hire the police departments, correct, or you pay the police departments? So I'm thinking it's incumbent upon the council to maybe make sure that the police department is doing their job. I have seen this in a few other towns when we call, and the police officers tell us we can't go out. We don't have anybody to go out right now, and that's been rectified. But I have never seen a police department in the entire state of New Jersey that says we're going to use animal control officers. And if the animal control officers are going to be trained by the prosecutor's office, that's all well and good, as long as they're not going to be trained to do investigative work and, prosecuting and issuing summonses for animal cruelty, because by state law they cannot. So, nothing against the animal control officers in Hamilton Township. We need the police officers to do their job in this respect. I'm not saying that they don't do their job across the board. I am certain that they do. I have great respect for police officers. I have officers in my family. But what I'm saying is, they were tasked by the New Jersey legislature to handle animal neglect calls and animal cruelty. They need to go out on those calls. If it's a patrolman, a foot patrolman, he needs to call his helo, he can call his county helo. It works perfectly, I can assure you that, from other towns in my experience. So that's all we're asking, is that the town council take a good, hard look at this, and the mayor, and I did have an opportunity to speak to him, a good, hard look at this. I spoke to your director of health, and I don't know the words of this now, but I think he understood what I was saying. So if you would truly consider looking into this and making sure that the police are going to go out on these calls, I don't think we're going to have a problem in the future. Until the state law changes, if it ever changes and allows an animal control officer to do this type of investigation, right now it's under the umbrella of law enforcement, and that would be the police officers, sheriffs, that type. So that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you. I would love to comment, but I'm not allowed to.
I don't even want to comment on that case. He deserves, to have it fully investigated. This is generally speaking, if you look at the New Jersey SPCA, you will see that they cannot be going on these calls. And this is what we're trying to make.
So can I know our 4 minutes is up. So if you were to pick up the phone right now and call the police headquarters, and I know you said that the police have to go out on the call, the cop doesn't answer the phone. So the cop, it's not that, the cop didn't make it, the cops don't make decisions to go out on calls or not. It's not, if a cop doesn't answer the phone, a cop doesn't know that call is coming in, correct? I just want to clear that up, that there's...
I'm not an expert on how it actually goes down. I know that the police officers have dispatch, and dispatch should be told about the law. And if somebody calls in with an animal neglect or cruelty complaint or concern, they should know what they're supposed to do. My assumption is that they would contact the police officer, but they haven't been. And this is not the first experience with Hamilton. Other towns too. They have not been going, the dispatch has not been contacting the police, or they've been telling the caller, call animal control. And it's not the way the law works. That's all I'm saying. Maybe there's a problem with dispatch. Maybe that's what you've got to look into too.
I can't
They might not have gotten the memo. I don't know. But either way, we want somebody fully trained or who has another officer who is fully trained as a humane law enforcement officer to handle those calls.
I understand, and I agree with you 100%. So.
Thank you.
He was first.
I can see yes, I can't see him.
You got my problem, we're both short.
This will be very quick.
Yeah, just state your name and address again for the record.
In the ordinance that I spoke about, 437, in section 153, Act 6, section C, specifically states that cannabis retailers and medical cannabis dispensaries shall not be permitted in the township. I just wanted to point that out to make sure that that doesn't conflict with the other section of the document that allows for medical dispensaries. So maybe that's one of those errors that can be corrected after. That's the intent was to allow for one. So,
Thank you.
Take that back. Keep it I mainly just wanted to ask, a lot of what was mentioned here was talking about trying to involve the community and really Hamilton wants to go with cannabis legalization. I just wanted to ask, the next town council meeting, when is the next opportunity to try to set something up that is, we're looking for an open forum for, I invited the union gentleman spoke before here because he, does this stuff. He is an expert in one portion of legalizing cannabis. You hear from a lot of those experts, not the individuals in the township. So I wanted to ask you, when's the next opportunity to try to set something like that? Is there anything you guys can commit to?
We can't. Okay.
Yeah, I was just going to speak for myself and say I have an open door policy. You have my phone number. I'm always happy to talk to you. I want to talk to any of my constituents who have concerns on any issue regarding the township. So feel free to give me a call. If you want to talk this week, I can call you, and we can talk more about if you want to meet for coffee and further share your views. I think your views are clear on this particular issue, but I'm always happy to hear your point of view on it. And as things develop with this, I'm certainly open to additional conversations.
Glad to hear that. I want to just reiterate the question. There's something that's opportunity. We need to be done in the past. We need to act on something that you need to do order the body.
What is it that you would like to speak about? What is it that you would like to speak about?
Setting up some sort of event for body to consult with the residents on cannabis.
What I'm hearing you say is going to be almost like a town hall type of format where we could hear.
Oh, yes, right. Like I said, Hopewell did a town hall open forum, like education engagement event. Latterville, I believe, the working group, Trenton is using the planning board, which I understand that haven't been planning boards cannabis right now. So I don't know that, maybe that's a good forum for it. I don't know if that it is or it isn't. I'm trying to comment on it. I'm trying to provide suggestions for different directions that could work.
It's an idea that we're going to ask Mr. Marenko to bring back to the administration and come up with some ideas, and then I'm sure it's going to move forward.
Okay, great.
You have our contact information as well. So.
I assume the official time to do something. It comes down to the administration, and this is not a town council meeting or a town council meeting.
Town council meeting and administration are going to be separate. We do separate
Yeah, we're
business.
separate under these things.
Okay, well, thank you.
You're welcome. Yes, Dennis.
I'm sorry, I'm losing it.
That's fine, we're going to do Trinity Avenue, Cornell Heights. On June 29th, I called, can't tell, the show was really good, and there was a hole in our sewer, straight out, and the man came very upset, I was really impressed with it. And a couple of days later, another gentleman came, who was going to see him, he said, he said that the storm drain was in bad shape, and he also said that supposedly for 3 years, they've been trying to get the storm management team together, and they would be watching this kind of thing, so especially in our neighborhood, like Tom said, the current are really kind of high, this past rain, and this man said to my neighbor, that the storm management team for 3 years they've been trying to get one, and he said it would be very beneficial, especially for us, whiteheads and stuff like that, to see on the alert of what to do. So I was just wondering whether that is going on, or that is the case, or is there such a thing at all?
Rick, you've been here longer than me. Did you ever hear that?
In light of the circumstances, it's an important issue for your neighborhood as much as any neighborhood in the community. As far as the storm management team is concerned, I can look into what the intentions were and what the status of that is and get back to you.
Okay. All right, very good.
The Office of Emergency Management, is that what you're talking about?
They said storm management team, the guy who came out and checked the sewer, for 3 years they've been trying to get somebody, get the team together to, watch all these sewer problems and stuff like that. So that they would try to do it. So I don't know where people just think it's not, or
should give their one, so.
Yeah, I'm not sure. We'll have to ask DPW, ask Chris tomorrow.
Who's out there?
Yeah.
Okay, and then next, you know, we asked you about, on the ordinance 2104 about Basin Road, I thought that was settled before about the right-of-way on Basin Road, because we were worried about the right-of-way coming out from Crossing. What kind of right-of-way on the Basin Road would we want? So that would be, next time, so we back, so we know what's going on there. So that should work. I remember you brought that up, yeah. And so now this is sometimes put family together, and that's what it is. So it's a new approach to what, I don't know.
It's part of the land use approvals by the planning board under application number 190934. So that it was just part of that, sorry. The ordinance as it reads, it talks about, the deed of right-of-way dedication was consistent with the requirements imposed as a condition of grants of land use approvals by the Hamilton Township Planning Board under application number 19-09-034, which said lands are more particularly described in the deed here too. So this is pursuant to the approvals for whatever was going on with the planning board for the Willard family partnership.
You know, like, the
Section,
road is one, you know, no problem.
well,
And so, like, we were always worried about the crossing, but we had that stop, but they were not going out on the Basin Road. And, we get doing that, and then so that that way, or whatever, but just for next time, you know, it's going to be moving on next time, just to get heads up, to get out.
let me see if I have backup.
That's one.
All right, so I've got meets and bounds descriptions, which is not going to help you much because it's like, go this way for, you know, that's terrible.
I'm not going to pick any of this conversation up.
Yeah, hold on. Everything that's being talked about has to go through the microphones. It's not going to be on the record. This is up for next meeting. It's open for public comment next meeting. Let's follow the rules the way we do it.
Right, but I just thought I'd be a heads up, and I'm going to question that, so that you can get the information.
I already made my notes.
So the right-of-way, you know what, I'm just remembering, I think I remember, it wasn't Basin, it was the, cross street with Basin. And it was just about, from the center of the street, the township needs X number of feet in order to be able to properly maintain things. So it was, I forget which street now, but it was a few meetings ago.
But it's up now, and in case they had to make the curve bigger, so when that was settled, so what is this again now?
This is a different thing.
We'll have the backup information for you.
What?
Good job.
Took me a few minutes to catch up with you guys. Yeah.
But now, what is this new right away? So I just started getting that,
We'll get clarification.
Okay, very good.
We're going to bring it up before you do. We're going to bring it up before you ask. We'll give you the answer, don't worry.
Okay, very good, thank you.
You're welcome.
And just one of the things, land of the White House pool spot was, the fact that, you know, Boston tax sale, and we're at like 1.5 to 2 feet tall. And we called in that they did send a crew out, and they did a beautiful job of trimming around the trees and everything, so I don't feel we've taken a lesson. But this time, we just thought they did an excellent job, and I'm wrong, some of the street, I didn't have to do it. And I thought I would get it up, I would turn around the trees and everything, made it look more, so that was
Great.
get a lot of time, but this is like, You did a good job.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Janice.
Anyone else want to come up a first time before we go for a second time? Tammy, you're up.
Happy that we learned how to see prior. So I want to talk about the Walmart issue with adults a little bit. So, one, I must say, the community bonded once again to bring this to the attention of everyone, so we have to community. The prosecutor asked the people on Sunday, Yahoo Angelo. However, my day job, I work in healthcare, I'm a physicist, so everything that happened at the shelter during the COVID for 15 straight Saturdays, I sat 9 to 5 on Zoom classes and became an ACO, because I wanted to understand how this happened at Hamilton, right? So I sat through what they go through, right? So I scratch my head and I say, okay, the training's good that we get, but there's also an expectation that ACOs create the regulations and that they keep up on them. So it's extremely unfortunate that an ACO clearly was the training moment. You see that video, right? A strong training moment. There's numerous ways to get people trained, and they recommend CEI does a great job. They can do one-on-one training for ACOs. I know they're going to go over the concept. Helios will go through it in September. I'll go through that process as well. But between now and September, I think it's very important that there's an extra focus on maybe doing one-on-one, right? CEI also offers one-on-one training. They put together customized courses. They do annual courses that focus on what's happening with the regulations. I know that, we've discussed in the past, mandating that, every year the ACOs get 24 hours of continuing education. And what I learned, during my nonprofit, on what happened there.
Yes, sir.
But what I found was, that there's a plethora of training out there. Really not acceptable, so on, right? So,
We agree with you. It's not acceptable. Not even to the slightest bit. I don't leave my dog outside for more than 30 seconds. When it's not out, I don't appreciate somebody leaving the dog in the car. It's not acceptable. Mr. Clegg, come on up. It's his first time, he's gotta go first. I would've done ladies first, but it's your first time. So before Mr. Clegg speaks, I just want to publicly thank him. When he found out that the shelter potentially was overheated, he took it upon himself to go there and report back that it wasn't the case. So for dispelling the false narrative and the untruths that were put out there, and for your friendship, we appreciate that.
Thank you, Steve Clegg, I want to zero in on this issue with all of my car. There's one specific issue that's kind of been danced around or tried brought up, but I just want to zero in on that. The policy for the township, when they receive a call for animal cruelty, is there a policy in place on who is dispatched?
I want to say yes. I don't want to misspeak. My belief is the police get called out because it is a helo issue. I don't want to misspeak, and I can't say for certain. That is my belief. That's my understanding. However, I can't say concrete. I just know how it's supposed to play out.
Okay. So, we're talking about training for these ACOs. And that's a whole other issue, because I don't want this to go and it be the values of the ACOs again, people don't train. That was the same excuse used with all the stuff happening. There's no training required to tell these ACOs if they are mistakenly called out in an animal cruelty case, or they are missed and the dispatch was incorrect, or for whatever reason, they see better things in an animal cruelty case. There's no training required to tell them, call the police. So what is it going to take to make that happen before, instead of waiting for this training?
I'm not sure anybody else wants to answer, but I
Is
will.
the township, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No,
I thought you were saying you didn't know if anybody wanted to answer. Go ahead.
I did, that's what I said. Go ahead. My understanding is this incident is not going to allow for another problem to take place, and that the procedures are going to be reinforced.
Okay, but I'm going to interpret that to say, policy going forward is all animal cases will be handled by the police.
Is that the policy?
That's what I'm going to take your word is, that's what I'm going to say.
That is the way it's supposed to be handled. To the best of my knowledge, that is the way it's supposed to be
And
handled.
that is the way you all intend that to be handled.
Is that the town policy?
Well, but except for the situation where the ACO is already out for something else, and the ACO sees, and, so there are exceptions.
They should, at that point, who knows the call.
Yeah, and they can do a concurrent investigation, yes.
So they can't do the current investigation.
A concurrent, like together.
Yes, so they will call the police.
Right, but like, so, but if they're out already, in
I
other
don't
words,
expect them to say it's not my problem right away.
right.
They,
So there are exceptions to the absolute rule that you're demanding, so
not what I'm demanding is that the police are involved. The police would go with the ACO would be there first, if that's the way it happens.
Mhm.
But he gets there and understands it's an animal cruelty, he needs to call the police. And that doesn't require extensive training, that requires whoever they're working for today to tell them this is what.
there's a reasonable belief that their animal cruelty has occurred.
I was assured by the chief that the procedures are going to be followed and that everyone will be retrained as necessary. And that was the conversation we had this morning. I don't want to say what the policy is because I don't know and I would hate to misquote something.
What I'm hearing though, and this is not all clear, you all understand that the policy going forward, from tonight forward.
No.
Is that the police are involved.
So, Steve, I'm not committing to, I understand the policy, because I'm actually going to ask the township attorney to give us very specific clarification so that we know beyond a shadow of a doubt. Because I'm not going to speak to some policy or SOP that I don't have in front of me, and I'm not going to pretend to have knowledge that I don't have. Common sense dictates that what you say sounds correct to me. Common sense dictates that what happened is unacceptable to all of us. We were disgusted by what happened.
So let me rephrase this.
Let him finish.
Well, I'm just going to try to make.
Go ahead, Steve.
You all agree that is the way it should happen. That the police should be involved.
Would I agree to, Steve? Well, don't put, well, Steve, if you want to put words in my mouth, then I have to clarify.
We follow the state statute.
Here's what I'm committing to. Here's what I'm committing to. The right thing didn't happen. We're going to get clarification on exactly what should happen from our township attorney. It is being investigated. It is a personnel matter, too. We have to be very careful what we say about this issue. So we have to be careful about what commitments we can make. We don't run the township, we're the legislative branch.
That's what I'm asking, that's what I'm trying to ask.
But hold on, so similar to back up what Councilman Ty is saying, if a procedure was not followed for fixing a truck, I don't know the procedure. If you come here and say, hey, are you going to follow the procedure? I'm not going to follow the procedure. I can't say because I don't know what the procedure is. What we're being told by the chief is all procedures will be followed, and that is what we have to go on. We can't turn around and quote because I don't know the policy.
The point I was trying to get to is I don't want this correction that's needed to wait until August or September, October for training. So what does it take to make sure the township has the policy that animal cruelty cases are handled by the police and not ACOs? What does that take to happen before some training?
Can we just get that provided? I need to go back and look at what the statute is. I need to go back and look at our procedure, and I'll see what it says. As you know, my deputy assistant works on this. This has been her, so, and I trust her implicitly. And I know generally what she does, but details I don't have in front of me. So I need to go back and look.
Okay. Can I follow up with somebody?
You can follow up, feel free. Yep. Can't commit to something.
and I'm not going to commit to something.
Ms. Farfield? We'll commit to listening.
There's some things up for you to settle there. Okay, first of all, I want to let you know that I did send Chief Stevens a thank you email, because he posted a special bulletin, not sure if you've seen it or not. And where it says animal cruelty investigations, humane law enforcement officers. The Hamilton, and I'm going to read it so it's entered into your record. The Hamilton Police Division Humane Law Enforcement Officers, investigate allegations of animal cruelty and neglect within Hamilton Township. Helos enforce animal welfare and animal cruelty laws of the state of New Jersey under Title IV, Agriculture and Domestic Animals, Chapter 22, Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, and Title II state, the New Jersey Code of Criminal Justice. If you would like to report animal cruelty or neglect, please contact the Hamilton Township Police, and I give the number for non-emergencies and says to dial 911. And when he posted that, I sent him a thank you note, to which I also told him that I was told that there was only one. The other two have been promoted. That in cases where, because I think we all can agree that people take vacations, people get sick, people have life events. So if people don't work 20%, and there's one helo, that would be a little bit difficult to have it covered 7 days a week, 20%. So I did also let them know that we did understand this, and that if it was an animal cruelty case, they absolutely could, a law enforcement officer could ask for an ACO to accompany them on the call. Okay? Because rather than an animal cruelty being requested, at least they would respond to it. And an animal, the ACOs do not have any law enforcement, and they know that to do what is necessary. Okay? And the other thing is, if it's a burden to Hamilton Township, maybe they should consider something that the state police has done, because humane animal works throughout the state of New Jersey, and the state police down in South Jersey, in certain parts of South Jersey, have had MOUs with the sheriff's office. So the sheriff's office covers money to driving around to forward, whatever it is, and then the state police pick up the slapping insurance. So I'm just trying to give you other solutions so that this does not happen, because if it happens, an animal might die.
Agreed. Thank you. Anyone else from the public that would like to speak? Okay, seeing none, I'd like to close the public comment portion and move on to council comments. Councilman Wellen, if you'd like to start us off, we'll work right down the road.
Sure. First off, I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. We had some good discussion as far as regarding the cannabis ordinances, and I appreciate the residents that came out tonight to speak, about what happened at Walmart, with the dog, and it's important. But mainly, I think what we got to take from this is that we take it seriously too, and that we are looking into it. We're going to follow up with our legal team to make sure whatever ordinance is in place that they're adhered to. So again, I thank you for coming out, especially for taking the time to make that phone call. So that was good stuff. Also, I think probably in light of the recent fire where we lost 3 residents, I think maybe it might be appropriate at this point that we bring in Director Dumont to give us an update on our housing program as far as the rental. So I think that might be a good idea to have Director Dumont at our next council meeting so he can give us an update of where we stand with our rental properties and how. Other than that, I appreciate everybody coming out. I see a lot of people wearing masks. I'm sure people are keeping in tune with what's going on around the country as far as this other variant of the virus, and just continue to be safe if you haven't been vaccinated. And get vaccinated. But hope you enjoy the rest of your summer, and again, thank you for coming out tonight.
Yeah, thank you, Councilman Whalen. Thank you, everyone, for coming out. Councilman Whalen said it well, we share your concern about the issues that are raised. There are times when, on advice of council, we are limited in what we can say publicly, but we don't find what happened acceptable, and we do expect further clarification from the administration, from the township attorney, so that we can say unequivocally, this is the way we expect these situations to be handled in the future. So with that said, I'm just going to once again thank everybody for coming out. That's all I have.
Repeat probably a lot of what's been said, but it really was just such a great night to hear from all of you and those who I obviously had to go. But this is how it's supposed to work. So I really appreciate your dedication, staying on top of things, bringing it to our attention. That's what we need. I know we took, when you email, I know a lot of you reached out to us. And I appreciate that so much, because the faster we can find out and we can look into things for you, we're here for you. So thank you again for coming out. And I also want to concur with Councilman Whalen. As a teacher, I'm starting to get a little concerned about the fall myself. So let's everybody be safe and have a good rest of the summer. Try to stay cool.
Thank you, Councilwoman. My comments are going to be brief. I'd like to congratulate Sunnybury, Nottingham, and Hamilton Little Lads baseball teams. They're all still playing. I believe Little Lads is out in Missouri at this point, the 12s in the Calverton tournament. Look, it was a sign of things opening back up. Little League Baseball came out, and it was the only thing I think we were allowed to do last year. Coaches had to wear masks. We went through a lot of hand sanitizer, but it was kind of like being born again when you were outside with, in the stand sitting without a mask. So good luck to those young men and women for what they're doing. We saw the town rally twice, right? We saw the town rally with the dog in the car, and we saw a community rally after the horrible fire. We had our first responders out there. We had our police and firefighters out there. We also had 4 people return from Florida, where they helped with the rescue mission there, seeing things that probably people aren't supposed to see. So I consider myself blessed to be here, to be healthy, and to be here with you. That's all I have. I know it's probably another month before the next meeting, right? 4 weeks? August 17th will be the next meeting. I know we're going to have some answers for Janice, so I know she'll be happy, and I look forward to seeing everybody. Denise, for what you did, I can't thank you enough. It was, big people react in bad times, and we appreciate you standing up. It was very admirable to do that. And Miss, if you want to stick around, I would like to talk to you. All right. With that said, meeting's adjourned.
I can't believe you guys don't wish me a happy birthday. Come on, man.
Happy birthday.
Next Friday.
You bought yourself your present already.
I told you that.